With the Mega set right around the corner, there are a lot of cards that are about to change the meta and the way we actually play the game. However, I think one card stands out above the rest. And that card isn't Forest of Vitality. That card isn't Mega Gardevoir. And that card is, yeah, it's not Mega Latias. I just wanted to put him up here because I thought he looks cool. But yeah, now he's in the binder. He's a horrible card. Lillie's Determination. So this card is, in my opinion, the best card in the set, and not just the best card in the set. I think this is going to instantly become one of the best cards in the game. This card opens up so many options for so many decks. Not only does it already help decks like Dragapult, like Gardevoir, like Grimmsnarl, like Charizard, it also helps basically every single rogue deck in the game, and it'll also help every single control deck. If we think about it, let's say we're playing Wugtrio Mill for some reason. What is the problem with Wugtrio Mill? Well, we don't draw enough cards. Our draw engine is not that good. Well, now we can slap 4 Lillie's Determination in the deck, and bam! We're drawing 8 cards every turn because we're not taking prize cards. Same as Pidgeot Control, not taking prize cards, so we can play Lillie's Determination to shuffle draw 8 instead to set up a lot more consistently. And that's something that obviously is a bit more niche because it's like control decks and mill decks, but I think that's going to bring a lot more options to the game. Like, if we think about it, let's say Slowking. Slowking was a deck that people were quite excited to play. However, it just wasn't good, right? It's a bit shit, let's be honest. But I think Lillie's Determination could fix that, right? She can fix her. She can fix him. It's a king, yeah. She can fix him. So, honestly, I think this card is going to fix a lot of things. But let's talk about the main fix. Let's talk about what I think the main reason this deck is going to be. I mean, this card is going to be so big. So, I made a video on Dragapult the other day, and I already covered why I think Dragapult is going to get much better, and that's because of Lillie's Determination. And let's take a deeper dive into that. So, 4 Professors of Research is currently the norm right now. And 4 Professors of Research isn't bad in decks like Gardevoir, or in decks that want to discard stuff like energies or stuff in the beginning of the game. And that's fair, right? However, Dragapult doesn't want to discard anything, right? There's a reason Dracloak suits Dragapult a lot more than Refinement or Trade would, because Dragapult doesn't have stuff that it wants to really get in the discard pile, because it has all of these resources that are all crucial towards the mid to late stage of the game, being your Dusknoir line, your support Pokemon, and then your just setup cards, right? Like all of your items and stuff, also your boss's orders and Hildas. The only thing I would ever think of discarding is maybe like a 1 of Dracloak or a 1 of Dusclops or 1 of Energy, because that means throughout the game, Night Stretcher is access to every single one of these, which is quite strong because you do play 4 of Night Stretcher or 3 Night Stretcher, and that's pretty strong. But the thing is, that's discarding like 1 or 2 cards. You don't really want to be discarding, like, if let's say you have an awkward hand, you start Pheasantipity in the active, right? And then you have 2 Dracloaks, and then you have a Dusclops, and then you have 2 Boss's Orders, and then you also have a Research, right? This sucks, because now you have to research away all of these resources, and you only play 4 Night Stretchers. So that means you're going to, like, if you want to get those 2 Dracloaks plus Dusclops backs, you're going to have to use either 3 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 of all of your Night Stretchers and just not have any recovery for the rest of the game, and also your Boss's Orders are now limited down to 1. Lillie's fixes that entirely. Not only does it let you draw more cards in that situation, it doesn't discard the cards. So there's a positive and a negative. The positive being, you don't discard cards, so you don't discard cards, which is very good, because we've already gone over why that's good. And you draw 8 cards, which is cool. However, there's a negative to that. Not discarding the cards means that they're not going into the discard pile or to the bottom of the deck like Iono, they're just going straight back into the deck. And that means there is a possibility that when we use Lillie's Determination, we're going to get these cards that we shuffle back into the deck into our hand again. However, we are still drawing 8 cards, and let's be real, you'll probably be able to play down your hand a little bit, and sometimes you want to see those cards anyway, right? Like, for example, in that instance where we play the Research and there's like 2 Dracloaks on our hand, we probably want to draw into those Dracloaks again after the Lillies, right? So that's something else that is quite nice and might even be nicer than Iono. Iono puts the cards at the bottom of the deck, and let's say you want Boss for game, but you need to Iono that turn. and next turn will be boss. If you play the Iono, that card's going to the bottom of the deck, right? And you're not going to see it unless you find a shuffle card. And let's be honest, towards the end of the game, Dragapult does not have that many shuffle cards. You've already used probably most of your Ultra Balls, most of your Buddy Puffins, and if you're not playing an S-Ball, then you're limited to kind of these 4 items. And anything else that shuffles is a supporter, like a Hilda, right? And that's just not good enough, right? Like, we don't have enough cards to shuffle the deck to get that boss's orders from back to the bottom, back out of the bottom of the deck. Whereas now, if we have a Lillie's, that boss's orders go straight back into the deck, and there's a good chance we can draw back into it once we play Lillie's. So there's good things about it, and there's bad things about it. But I think mainly the good things are because it's going to add an extra layer of skill. Because the thing is with research and stuff is that you just play the cards. So research is just a discard all +7. Iono is... Can these things stop popping up? Iono is bottom and then plus prize cards, like equal prizes, right? But Lillie's is going to be either shuffle +8 or shuffle +6. This is a big thing because we've already seen shuffle +6 have very big success in the game. We saw Cynthia's, and Cynthia's was a staple. It was a 4 of in almost every single deck when Cynthia was in format. And we saw Lillie itself, which was draw up until 6 or draw up until 8 if it's your first turn. And that card was also a staple. We also saw, obviously, okay, maybe back in that day, draw supporters we didn't really have a great option of draw supporters, so we had to fall back on cards like that. But it still saw a lot of play. And the +8, well, draw until 8 felt great, right? And Lillie's Determination is a mix of these two because it has an effect to be able to get you into 8 cards in hand, but it also has a way to only get you 6. The problem is, or not really the problem, the nice thing is that you have a lot more control over when you're drawing 8 and when you're drawing 6. So Dragapult is one of those decks where it is very important that you enter the prize race at a correct time. You have to initiate your prize race and start trading prizes at a very specific time. You can't, it's not one of those decks where you're just going to enter the prize race turn 2 and just start swinging, right? Obviously, sometimes you will. Sometimes your opponent has a slow start, and you can capitalize on it if you have a fast start, and you can just start denying them board state setup, and at that point, it's fine. But against other decks, it's a slower, more grindy game while you're building up your Dusclops, while you're building up your Dracloaks, while you're sitting behind a Badoo, and Lillie's allows for this kind of play to be a lot more effective. Because now, you're drawing basically 8 cards every turn, plus your Dracloaks, so you're seeing a lot of cards by the time you've actually entered the prize race. You've probably seen your entire deck, actually. Obviously, there's another negative, as Dracloak kind of, stacks the deck, and the nice thing about Research and Iono is that they both don't shuffle the deck, meaning a good player can essentially stack their deck. If you have 3 or 4 Dracloaks set up and you're playing Iono or Research most turns, you can quite literally stack your deck. You can kind of know where cards are and when you're going to start drawing back into them. Obviously, when you shuffle your hand with Iono, you won't know exact which order they are, but you'll know that in these 6 cards, there's 6 specific cards in there. And when you're using Dracloak, you know, like, as you draw through that deck, what cards are going to slowly start appearing. So stacking your deck is a genuine thing that you can do with this deck right now. Lillie's does take that away, unfortunately, but I think the drawback is fine to the fact that you're drawing so many cards. So that is why Dragapult, obviously, is probably the deck that is the happiest about this. I'd say Gardevoir is another one of those decks that, look, okay, Gardevoir might not want to cut all their researches because, you want to get energy in the bin, and research is a good thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Gardevoir play something like 4 of Iono or even 3 Iono, 3 research, and 3 Lillies, right? That's something that we have been seeing. If I bring up Pokébook here and find Gardevoir, it might okay, Mega Gardevoir, I guess this is like similar. Yeah, this is kind of similar. In fact, there's no Mega Gardevoir in this deck. But yeah, we'll see that research out of this has gone completely, right? We see 3 Iono, 4 Arven, and 4 Lillies, alongside 2 Mysterious Garden, which is another great card that you draw up until you have the same amount of Psychic Pokemon players cards in hand, which is quite nice. And then we see the deck over here playing 4 Iono, 2 Research, 1 Lillies. A very thin line of draw supporters, I'm not going to lie, but obviously you're allowed to do that thanks to the Mysterious Garden. But we'll see a common recurring theme that a lot of these decks are playing, and these are all decks that won events. Like, this isn't just a random deck, right? This is all decks that won events, and it shows that even Gardevoir itself is running a Psyduck. That's how oppressive Dragapult is. That's how strong it is right now. This deck is playing 4 Iono, 3 research, 4 Lillie. It's just because Lillie, it has so much potential to get you set up. Here, this is what I was saying, a very like hybrid supporter deck. 3 Iono, 2 Arven, 2 research, 2 Lillie, 1 boss, 1 garden. And it's good because you have so many options of being able to draw cards now. And a lot of them are either, okay, there's a legacy energy in that deck, which is interesting. But yeah, so you can see as I scroll through these lists, you can kind of take note, every single one of them, or 99% of them, are playing at least 1 Lillies. Okay, this is the first one I've seen is not playing a single Lillies. But yeah, a lot of them are playing Lillies. Lillies is an incredible card, and I can show you right now, if I go through every single deck here, probably, we will be able to see Lillies. We will be able to see Lillies. Megamind Electric, Lillies. This one's not playing Lillies, this one's not playing Lillies, this one's playing Lillies. So as I scroll through these decks, just take note of how many of them are actually playing Lillies because of how important it is for these decks to set up. The main problem with the Pokemon trading card game, in my opinion, is the variance of like having just completely unplayable hands. And that probably feels the worst. You know, like I've had it quite a few times where you're sitting there at a finals of a tournament and you just draw like shit. You just have absolutely nothing and it feels bad. You feel really bad about it because like there's just nothing you can do about it. Like, and even if you're playing against someone who's just not as good as you, if they have a decent start and you have nothing, well, there's just not much you can do about it, right? Like womp womp. So the problem is that right now, Lillies is going to, the solution is right now that Lillies is going to fix that. Lillies is going to fix those dead hands in the beginning of the game. Obviously, granted, you start Lillies or find Lillies, but I'm just saying Lillies in the beginning of the game is a lot stronger than Iono or a research. So that's, I think, basically all I wanted to cover today. I think Lillies is going to be one of the best decks, best cards in the game, and is going to be used by almost every single top deck. That I think even Goldengo might actually run some Lillies. Like I'll try find that. Give me a second. Let me try find Goldengo. And there we have it. Goldengo lists playing Lillies. Like even Goldengo, a deck that plays 10 trillion cards or draws 10 trillion cards a turn, still plays Lillie just because of how important that card is to set up. But yeah, that's about it.